So divide it up into paragraphs. Divide it up into short paragraphs. I think that this one goes without saying, but I want to remind you anyway. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. Okay? You owe it to yourself to do it yourself. Okay? If you are an honest person and you truly want to achieve something in your education, then it's a no-brainer just to do all of your own work. But this does not mean that you can't seek out assistance. And I strongly advise you to ask a friend to read it. Ask for advice. Ask for 3 friends to read it. You can ask me to read it. I'll give you my email address. Okay? Seek for advice. Don't abuse it. I'll give it to you. Seek out the advice of people that you trust. Okay? Because I know that, for me especially, when I write something, especially soon after I finish writing it, it's perfect. It's like my baby. Right? It's my essay. I work so hard on my essay. Oh, I love it so much. You're so beautiful and perfect, right? It's very difficult to be critical of your own work, especially once you have recently only just completed it. It's difficult to be critical. So, giving it to somebody else is a great way to separate yourself from that, because it's much easier to be critical of someone else's work than of your own, right? And then listen to what your friends have to say, their advice. Don't be offended if they don't like it, right? Okay. Let's see. Revise, revise, and revise. Okay, write it, and then write it again, and write it again, and again. A lot. Write it a lot. Do a lot of work on it, okay? If it's only 100 words, or only 200 words, that may seem like not very much writing, but actually the less space you have, the more difficult the writing is. Because you have to be able to say more with less, and that takes a lot of extra work. Okay? So, take the time to revise it. I suggest start working on it weeks before it is due. That way you can write it, and then step away from it and forget about it for a couple of days, then come back to it with fresh eyes and write it again and again, okay? Each time it will get better. I promise, each time it will get better. And then finally, relax. There's only one thing you can do, and that's your best. Right? Can you do better than your best? Is it possible to do better than your best? If there is, tell me, because I haven't found a way yet. Right? So you can only do as good as you can do and no better. Simple as that. And like I said at the beginning, the important scale is around 5%. Right? It's not that important. It's not that important. It's not unimportant. But it's not everything. Okay? Any questions about this? Does this all make sense?
How short should be the paragraph?
How short should the paragraphs be? Well, I think it depends on your own personal style. I would say maybe an average of 5 sentences per paragraph, but it really depends on you. You can have 2-sentence paragraphs, you can have a 10-sentence paragraph. I think that, a paragraph is one idea. And if you can say it in 1 sentence, well, then do it in just 1 sentence. If you need 5 sentences, well, then take 5 sentences. So it depends.
I don't have to write the introduction, the main body, the ending, the conclusion, or something like that.
Absolutely not. Don't write a regular academic essay. Okay? And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. An academic essay with very strict structure is designed to do one thing, and that is to convey information. Information only. But you're not just giving the person information, you're telling them about yourself. You're trying to convey your personality. And so if you play with the structure a little bit and are a little bit free with your paragraphs and what, then that will say a lot about what kind of person you are. This is what we want to do. Does that make sense? Okay, good.
Is it possible to write one the same essay to all the universities, or it must be very specific to the type of university?
Well, it depends on the school. A lot of universities, they have like a question that you have to answer. So for this, you have to answer an individual question, and the questions will be different. But in general, that's okay, because they're not going to share. Harvard's not going to call Yale and say, "Do you have the same one?" 5 universities, I use the same one with some modifications. You know, like the name of the school, it's very important. The name of the school right. Right? A1 important. That's a guarantee to put you in that 5% of rejection if you get the school name wrong. Okay, so I want you to know what you think, because I guess that probably for some of you, my suggestions are new, right? Well, some of what I said maybe a little bit unexpected, about the approach. Okay, so answer these questions to your partner, all right? Your neighbor sitting right next to you. Is this approach surprising to you, and why? What questions do you have for me or for your, participant mates? And does this make the process seem easier or more difficult? So the fact that we're doing it, that I suggest we do it this way, does it make it harder or easier? So don't tell me, tell your partner. Right now. Answer these questions. Was this approach surprising to you? Did I surprise you today or not? Was it surprising?
A little.
A little bit? Okay, good. Well, what's surprising about it? What was unexpected?
What about the academic skills and achievements? Why do you think that you shouldn't write much about?
Because they will be in other parts of your application.
It's another part.
So your application is going to be several different documents. And you're going to put your grades, and you're going to put all of your achievements in separate documents. But this is not for that. That's what I mean.
But this makes harder to this administrator to think objectively at your essay.
I disagree.
It's difficult to scale with different people.
Okay, what would make it easier, in possibly in your opinion?
Well, maybe if you have different achievements, like different grades, and it's easier to scale them.
But what does grades say? What does it say about somebody if you have good grades?
Academically smart, success.
It means one thing. I have good grades. That's all it means. That's all it means. Okay? I mean, it may reveal you're a hard worker. It may actually say that you're smart. But the only thing that we're certain that good grades says about you is that you have good grades. Okay? It doesn't say what kind of person you are. It doesn't say what kind of student you are. And as a teacher, I much prefer the underperforming student who works very, very hard to the student who does things very easily and doesn't have to try hard and gets good marks all the time. I like the hardworking student better who maybe gets lower grades. So grades don't say everything, and on your application in other parts there will be plenty of opportunity for you to share your grades, but not here. Not here.
But should we write about how these achievements influenced our life?
Well, you can if you decide to do that, certainly. Certainly. It's entirely up to you, but as long as it's personal. In other words, as long as only one person on the planet could have written it, and that person is you. Right? So you can write about your achievements if you'd like to. I would be careful, but certainly you can. If it reveals something about your personality, absolutely. Yes?
And for me, it's a question how to structure this story about myself. Because
I
can
know.
tell many words and what is important and how to stop in the
So
right
maybe
moment.
for you it makes it a little bit more difficult not having a predefined structure.
Yeah,
Right?
kind of.
No, I can agree with that. I can agree. At the end of my presentation, I will show you the title and the publication information of a book called 100 Successful College Application Essays. You can actually read sample essays that were successful, and it might help you. It might help you. Let's see. In general, would you say this makes it easier or more difficult?
More difficult.
More difficult? Oh, not yet. I think easier. Oh, good. I think that the purpose, I think it should be more difficult. Okay, if it's worth doing, it's going to be hard. Anything that's worth doing is going to be difficult. Okay. All right.
The most